My name is Helena Carey. I write for a blog called The Hill is Home. And if you could please introduce yourself.
My name is David Krucoff, and I'm running for Congress as an independent in the District of Columbia.
Great. Hello, David. It's nice talking to you. So tell me, which ward do you call home? You're a DC native. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in Ward 3, and I'm in Ward 3 now, too.
Okay. Are you a recent Ward 3 resident, or do you go back?
Well, so my great-grandfather came to DC around 1890. My grandmother was born in 1901 here, and the Krucoffs have been here for multiple generations, and we look to remain here and to gain our complete voting rights.
Okay, well, great. So, we were talking earlier, and you were telling me about Douglas County, Maryland. So tell me more about Douglas County, Maryland, and why you are running for delegate to the District of Columbia.
So Douglas County, Maryland is a name which actually I didn't come up with the name, okay? The person who actually came up with the name, his name is Larry Morrell, okay? And we were having coffee at the Starbucks at Connecticut and Livingston Street, maybe 15 years ago. And he was working with a predecessor organization called the Committee for the Capital City. And he said, we should just call it Douglas County, Maryland. And I snapped my fingers. I said, Larry, that's it. And since then, I created, with help of one of my colleagues, a 501c4 called Douglas County, Maryland, or a political organization to enhance that advocacy. And that's been widely written about in probably a dozen publications at this point in time. And I think mostly positively. And I've contributed to that by writing some as well. And now we are extending that advocacy by running for Congress. But it's not just about Douglas County, Maryland. We're also reform-based. So we believe that the non-voting delegate position from the District of Columbia is the ideal place or platform from which to espouse reform, provided that the person in that office is neither a Republican nor a Democrat. So I'm part of the National Association of Nonpartisan Reformers. So we believe in things like ranked choice voting with open primaries. We believe in multi-member districts. We believe in diminishment of dark money. We believe in increasing the number of representatives in the House of Representatives. We believe in potentially the Maine and Nebraska method within the Electoral College. So there's a lot of things that we can do within the system that we have now that could make the system work better. And franchise voting. So,
sorry, do you mind repeating that, because it just froze for a second?
Well,
the last part.
One of our most prominent members is also the leading advocate of vote from home. So we believe in having easy access for voting. So all these things are part of our campaign too.
So by advocating to create basically retrocession, what do you hope to achieve? And I mean, it's kind of, I want to say, I know that you've encountered, you will have many supporters, but there are many people who don't necessarily believe it's the right course to go. So what would you say to people who are like, no, retrocession isn't the right way to go? How would you convince people that this is the right course of action?
Well, our approach is to be dignified, empathetic, listen, and provide credibility back. So retrocession, we asked, there are people, me not being one of them, but there are people, let's say thousands of them, who believe that retrocession, as opposed to 51st statehood, is a diminishment of their identity as a Washingtonian. And we would push back politely that it is actually an enhancement of our identity. Because right now, what we have is we are disenfranchised. And the evidence would be that we will remain disenfranchised until we approach our enfranchisement in a nonpartisan manner. And that's what retrocession does.
Okay.
It does not create 2 more senators, which has led a block in the Senate. Now, we in the District of Columbia are no better or no worse than anyone else in any city around the country. We, you know, I like to say our S doesn't, we're great and we're bad, okay? So we deserve senators. We deserve a House of Representative person. We deserve to have our laws not being thrown to the Oversight Committee for 30 days, unless it's emergency legislation, and then to see whether it's passed or not, or it becomes law, okay? We deserve all those things. But we don't necessarily deserve, so what is that? What that is statehood. We deserve statehood. Do we deserve to be our own state or a part of where we came out of, in this case, Maryland? It's either, but which is obtainable, which is better economically, which is better historically, which is better for students. If we look at all these things, I ask everyone to join us and get this done.
So looking at, you know, Eleanor Holmes Norton's 15 terms in office and her recent success with HR 51, do you feel intimidated by her record and
Not at all.
going on, or?
I don't think that raising expectations is intimidating.
Okay.
Raising expectations of her constituents potentially could be damaging. The likelihood is that HR 51, which will have to be reproposed in 2021, provided that the Democrats keep the House of Representatives, which is very likely. And then it will have to go to a Senate, which means the Democrats will have to have control of the Senate, which is possible. Let's say it's 50-50, okay, that the Democrats will take the Senate. Whether it's 50-50 with the vice president in the chair, or whether it's 51-49 or something like that. Now, the Democrats last week, or was it last week or the week before? There was a bill in the House in the House passed on police reform, right? There was a bill in the Senate on police reform too. It did not pass. It went down 55-45 because the Democrats employed a filibuster. Okay? They just used it last week. Now, what would have happened if they didn't use the filibuster? They could have had a conference between the House bill and the Senate bill on police reform. They could have worked out some kinks, and they could have provided a better bill to the president, and I think he would have passed a police reform bill. However, what happened is what always happens nowadays, is that nothing happened. And we believe the evidence will show that it will be a continuation. So whether it's Joe Manchin, whether it's Agnes King, whether it's Chuck Schumer, whether it's Dianne Feinstein, whether it's Doug Jones, these senators, the evidence will show, are not going to vote to eliminate the filibuster. And all the Republicans are not going to vote to eliminate the filibuster. And so the vote, if 51st statehood comes up in the Senate in 2021, last year, if you asked me the chances of 51st statehood, I would have told you 1%. This year, I'll tell you 5%.
Well, that's 4% more.
It's 5 times as much. We believe that our path forward, we welcome everyone to join us and get this done.
Okay.
We will have senators, we will have a Congress, but the other thing that people are not fully aware of is the economics. Maria, do you know about the economics of statehood?
No, please go ahead and tell me. I mean, well, go ahead and tell me.
Do you know what the Medicaid match is?
I am not familiar, no.
Okay, so Medicaid, which is a healthcare service for the poor, is financed in each jurisdiction by the federal government and by that jurisdiction. In this case, it's state.
Mhm.
In our case, it's the District of Columbia. Now, it turns out that we, the residents of the District of Columbia, are extremely well off
Mhm.
based on our per capita income. And therefore, we would qualify for a 50-50 Medicaid match. We
Oh,
pay 50%, the feds pay 50%.
I
Well,
understand.
guess what? We pay 30%.
Mhm.
We don't pay 50. The feds pay 70. Why? Because that's a legacy from the Revitalization Act when they eliminated the federal payment to the District of Columbia last time we went belly up, which was in the 90s, when Anthony Williams was our CFO and then he was our mayor, okay? If we become the 51st state, or if we become Douglas County, Maryland, we will have to absorb a 20% delta in a diminishment of the federal Medicaid.
Correct.
I think that's $1 billion, okay? I could be wrong about the number.
Mhm.
And if I am, I apologize to anybody watching your blog. We also do not own the court system, okay? There's a lot of negotiations here. This is not easy. We don't own or operate our judicial system, which I believe costs about $600 million per year.
Mhm.
Here's another one, DC tag. If you're a student and you wish to go to college, you get $10,000
Mhm.
towards that out-of-state place. Well, you know what the cost of college is at the University of Maryland? It's about $35,000 tuition.
Mhm.
You know what the cost of it in-state is?
What's
It's about $11,000, something like that. So the delta there is twice what DC tag would be. And by the way, DC tag will probably be going away, okay? Because we're no longer eligible for such preferred status. Okay, so these things cost. It turns out that the District of Columbia is the most expensive place in the country to live in non-federal cost of government, okay? So if you look at the cost of dc.gov,
Uh-huh.
and you add up everything, and not the cost of your federal tax dollars, but the cost of dc.gov, per capita, it's double for a similar size city, Boston or Denver.
Okay.
We're twice as expensive,
Mhm.
okay? So we have
Why is
90
that?
or so agencies in the District of Columbia,
Okay. Mhm.
okay? Approximately 2/3 of those agencies do functions that are state-like functions, things that states do more so than cities do,
Mhm.
okay? So we have to become a state or be part of a state because we have to qualify for Article 1 of the Constitution.
Mhm.
So if that happens, we're going to have a tremendous increase in our cost, which right now we're at $15.5 billion for our budget, which is just astronomical for our size. We're looking at it going up. So how do you pay for all these things? We argue that if we work with Maryland,
Mhm.
we don't have to have all these state functions that we're paying for because Maryland's the state.
Right.
We can work together and have economies of scale and actually pay for these things and get these things done. Not to mention that the District of Columbia is looking at some tough times right now, okay?
I think the whole country's looking at some tough times right now. It's not.
We are looking at worse than the whole country. I'm right now at 15th and K, and I'm looking at
Why are we
millions
looking
and
at
millions of square feet
harder times
of
than the
vacant
rest of
office
the country?
space.
Sorry.
What's that?
No, I'm asking, why are we looking at harder times than the rest of the country?
Because our budget is based on our population doubling every work day.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen anymore. And our vacancy rate is going through the roof.
I understand.
And you and I are Zooming. And our economy, based on the law firms, based on the lobbyists, based on government services and a variety of things, the functionality is changing. And
Mhm.
people are not going to want to get on the subway as much. People are going to want to work from home more.
Mhm.
And our whole budget is designed for this influx of population.
Mhm.
and you can go on the DC Policy Center's website and look at the downward part of how sales taxes are being collected.
Mhm.
And I would submit to you that we could be looking at more people leaving to go to Florida and a variety of things that put them out of state or out of our district. And this is a great time for us to work together for a solution-based thing.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what Douglas County, Maryland is.
Okay, and so I just want to kind of move into, I mean, you've made your case very eloquently and I appreciate it. So what makes you the right candidate to challenge Eleanor Holmes Norton right now?
Well, so far, I'm the only person who has had the guts to talk about retrocession so passionately. And this is the Eleanor has been a warrior for the District of Columbia for over a generation,
Mhm.
okay? But the number one objective of the non-voting delegate position of the District of Columbia is to provide her constituents with complete voting rights. After 15 terms, 30 years, we can reasonably say that she has not succeeded in that effort. And we don't believe that scolding Senate Republicans is the modus operandi that we should have. We believe that we should have coffee with them.
Mhm.
Okay, we don't believe that we should disparage our neighbors around us. We should work together to have a more vibrant economy.
Mhm.
And the whole thing is that if we are not a Democrat nor a Republican, and we are from the capital of the country, and we don't even have a vote,
Mhm.
what a better place to work with everyone in a dignified manner to accomplish tasks that we all desperately need to get done.
Okay, well, thank you. Do you have any parting thought before we say goodbye?
Well, I just really want to thank you so much for inviting me on to your presentation,
Whatever
your
this
blog.
Yes.
And I was really happy to encounter you on Twitter the other day.
Definitely.
We are going to be on the ballot. We've already superseded the number of signatures that we need to have.
Congratulations.
We are going to work forward towards November in a continuation of this passionate, independent, and passionately pragmatic approach. And and by the way, we collected signatures in all 8 wards.
Mhm.
And we continue to do that. And one other point, when I was working with Douglas County, Maryland, prior to becoming Krucoff for Congress, I visited every single ANC in the city. Okay, and I spoke about session in a.
Sorry, you're freezing for a second. You might have to.
Do that.
Oh, sorry. Could you repeat that last part? It was frozen for a second.
Well, I was just saying that when I was working on my own time
Mhm.
in the evenings, prior to my announcement or our submitting Form 1 with the Federal Election Commission,
Mhm.
I went to every single ANC meeting in the city, all 40 of them, and spoke about Douglas County, Maryland.
Mhm.
So we're all over the place. We're active. We look to build relationships. We look to build bridges. We look to work with everyone and to provide us over time with a better way of being and a way that was collaborative and unifying.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And if people want to contact you, they would go to?
Well, so our campaign is also called The Purple New Deal.
The Purple New Deal. Okay.
Right. So just so you know, I've come up with some phrases. Douglas County, Maryland, I obviously created that. The Purple New Deal takes you to Krucoffforcongress.com.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll make sure to include those links.
So also, we'd like to think about this time period
Mhm.
as the reforming 20s. Okay. So if you will go to the full
Mhm.
20s, you will
Mhm.
see an article I wrote about that. And this is just the beginning of a whole period of reform. This is year one of the reforming 20s.
Mhm.
And obviously, retrocession is just one reform,
Mhm.
but the term limits, the ranked choice voting and open primaries, we cannot stand our winner take all closed primary in the District of Columbia. Multi-member districts, variety of other reforms. These are all part of the ways to make our system work better without throwing the whole thing out.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's what we're about.
Okay, well, thank you again so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, Maria, for having us and for having me. Take care.